And that father who stole the show at the Democratic Convention, Khizr Khan, is here with me now. Mr. Khan, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir. And after giving that interview, Donald Trump released a statement last night. I'm sure you've seen it, calling your son a hero. As a matter of fact, he tweeted as much just a few moments ago. But he also said in that statement last night that you have no right to stand in front of millions of Americans and say he has never read the Constitution. What is your response to Donald Trump this morning?
I appreciate his response, his press release that was issued last night confirming that he accepts my son as a hero of this country. But to answer your question, his policies, his practices do not reflect that he has any understanding of the basic fundamental constitutional principles of this country, what makes this country exceptional, what makes this country exceptional in the history of the mankind. There are principles of equal dignity, principle of liberty. He talks about excluding people, disrespecting judges, the entire judicial system, immigrants, Muslim immigrants. These are divisive rhetoric that is totally against the basic constitutional principle. If you read the Constitution, you will either deliberately would be violating those principles or you have not read. That is why I have watched whole year and rest of the world has watched. And the love and affection and support that we have received after my statement at every corner of the street, at every place, the affection, the support, the love that I have received, that we continue to receive, is a testament that he is talking about ignorance. He is not fully aware of these principles.
And in the same interview that Donald Trump gave in response to your speech, he seemed to go after your wife, suggesting that perhaps she didn't speak at the convention because of your Muslim faith. Let's take a listen to that.
His wife, if you look at his wife, she was standing there. She had nothing to say. She probably, maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say. You tell me, but plenty of people have written that.
What's your response to that?
That's, again, height of ignorance on a part of a candidate for the highest office of this nation. Two things are absolutely necessary in any leader or any person that aspires, wishes to be a leader. That is moral compass, and second is empathy. This candidate is void of both traits that are necessary for the stewardship of this country.
You don't believe he's fit to be president?
I do not believe his whole year-long rhetoric, division, excluding people, talking about them derogatorily, has prepared him. He promised to the Republican leadership that he will change his manner. He will not be as ignorant as he had been, but he had continued. Those two traits of moral compass and empathy are absolutely necessary for the leader of a free world, leader of a nation like United States.
And for all of those viewers out there who are wondering why your wife stood by you silently during the convention.
Her medical condition, she has written an op-ed in her own words, her own voice. Why didn't she speak? I invited her that when you come to this stage, can you say thank you for inviting us? My husband will speak further. She said, you know my condition. When I see my son's picture, I cannot hold myself together. For this candidate for presidency to not be aware of the respect of a gold star mother standing there, and he had to take that shot at her, this is height of ignorance. This is why I showed him that Constitution. Had he read that, he would know what status a gold star mother holds in this nation. This country holds such a person in the highest regard. And he has no knowledge, no awareness That is height of his ignorance. She is ill. She had high blood pressure. People that know her looked at her face and she said, I may fall off the stage. And I told her that you have to assemble yourself and stand for the beauty of this tribute that is being paid. This person is total incapable of empathy. I want his family to counsel him, teach him some empathy. He will be a better person if he could become, but he is a black soul. And this is totally unfit for the leadership of this beautiful country. The love and affection that we have received affirms that our beliefs, our experience in this country had been correct and positive. The world is receiving us like we have never seen. They have seen the blackness of his character, of his soul, that he is void of recognizing, empathizing with people.
And you mentioned that Constitution that you keep with you in your pocket. You have it with you right now.
I always...
Why do you have it with you?
I always have it because it embodies, it enshrines the existence of this nation. This nation, we live here so often, we are here, we become unappreciative of the goodness of this country, but we are testament to that. We live every day. I have a stack of this beautiful document at my home. When guests come, I am so delighted to start the conversation by handing them a copy. Luckily, I had it in my pocket. I didn't know that I have it. My words were different. My words were, I hope you have read the Constitution. I hope you will look for the words of liberty and equal justice and equal dignity. When I was getting ready to get in the cab to go to the convention, when I put my coat on, I touched it and it was in my pocket. It is always, whenever I wear coat, it is in my pocket.
And Trump accused you of having these words written for you by the Clinton campaign. Is there any truth to that? Did you write this speech yourself?
There is no truth to that. You're listening to me, you're talking to me, and over there, I had limit of the time. I had written a longer speech, and I'm going to say the rest of this speech to you right now. There is no Clinton campaign here. There is no prompter here. I am an articulate person. I can utter my thoughts and utter my feelings, and I address, which my wife asked me to not include those things, but this is the time to say those things. I wanted to address, and I address them now. I address the Senate Majority Leader, a patriot, and I address the Speaker of the House, a patriot American. It is their moral obligation. History will not forgive them. This election will pass, but history will be written. The lapse of moral courage will hold them, will remain burden on their souls, on their leadership.
What do you want the Republican leaders to do, Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan?
To repudiate him. They have suggested, they have sat with him, as we are aware in public. They have advised him, they have counseled him. Entire leadership of the Republican Party, I know Republicans are as patriot as Democrats, as independents. But he had promised them to mend his ways, divisive ways, harmful way, hurtful manners and policies. Yet he comes back again on the same thing. It is majority leaders and speakers' moral, ethical obligation to not worry about the votes, but repudiate him, withdraw the support. If they do not, I will continue to speak, and I am speaking. I have received tremendous support from Republicans saying to me that they have never voted for Democrats. This year, they are not going to vote Republican for the office of president because of this candidate.
You've obviously received an overwhelming response to your speech, and you just mentioned that many Republicans have reached out to you to say that they appreciate your words. What about the supporters of Donald Trump? Have you heard from them? What are they saying to you?
The people that have called, left messages, I do not know what their political affiliation is, but it appears from the overwhelming response and affection and support that we continue to receive, that is what Captain Humayun Khan died fighting for, the liberty, equal dignity. That is what these patriots fight the war for America, to keep it safe, to keep it. In addition to this, there was in the speech that my good wife asked me to refrain from saying, I wanted to say, we reject all violence. We are faithful, patriotic, undivided loyalty to this country. We reject all terrorism. She asked me not to say that because that was not the occasion for such a statement. We say to his ignorance, I address his ignorance, that the direct effect, the most effect of the terrorism in the menace of terrorism had been Muslims in the world. Muslims hate this menace of terrorism as much as any other place. It is our duty to keep this country, our country, beautiful country, safe. We have always thought of that way. We will continue to do our part to keep it safe and beautiful. What he cites in the name of Islam and all that, that is not Islam at all. I wish somebody would have put something in his head that these are terrorists, these are criminals, these folks have nothing to do with Islam.